Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Grow Through It podcast. My name is Julia, and I'm so excited about today's topic, pushing past your comfort zone. This is an exciting topic for me because growing up, I was extremely shy and timid. I wouldn't order my own food at restaurants. I wouldn't talk to anyone aside from my mom on the phone. Anytime I'd have a crush on someone, I would refuse to talk to them. Even in my first relationship, I would barely talk at first. I hated going to new places alone. I would get panic attacks on my first day of going somewhere new, or if I needed to run an errand at a place I had never gone to before, even in my late teens to early 20s. I always wanted more out of life, and I knew I wanted to do big things, but I never thought I was capable of doing it. I hid it pretty well, though. Most people I knew back then probably didn't know how anxious I was. I acted pretty confident a lot of the time, but inside I was always afraid. Although I do still consider myself a shy person today, I am so much more comfortable and confident in my own skin now. Don't get me wrong, I definitely still have insecurities and get nervous all the time about things, but I'm able to do so much more now, and my anxiety has decreased so much. The reason I'm able to talk on this podcast and post on social media and live life normally now is because I pushed myself outside of my comfort zone, and I continue to do so on a regular basis. For example, this podcast is definitely outside of my comfort zone, but I'm also so excited about it because not only is it helping me grow, but it's also helping other people grow too. Part of the reason I was so uncomfortable and anxious doing things is because I used to have very low self-esteem. I didn't think I was capable of much, and I think this largely has to do with toxic relationships from my past and being told I couldn't do certain things or just having things done for me. I didn't think I was smart enough to go to university for things I was actually interested in, like psychology. I didn't think I was capable of doing certain sports I thought were cool, and I was always afraid of making a mistake and people laughing at me. My boyfriend Paul has really helped heal this part of me, and although I was pushing myself out of my comfort zone before him, like moving to a new province at 18 years old, taking different college courses, changing career paths, leaving my long-term relationship, living by myself, he really encourages me to push even more past my comfort zone. Paul goes hiking or snowboarding every single weekend. I used to think I wouldn't be able to hike to the top of a mountain. I thought I was too out of shape or it was too hard. Previously, when I went hiking, it was really difficult for me, but most of that was just in my head. He taught me that I'm truly capable of anything. He tells me this all the time, and it's helped me so much. The first time we ever went hiking, we did a pretty difficult hike, or at least that's how I felt about it at the time. If I had done that hike alone, there's no way I would have pushed myself to finish it. I could have done it, but I wouldn't have thought I could do it at the time. It was because of his belief in me and a little bit because I wanted to impress him that I did it. I didn't believe in myself, but I knew he believed in me 100%, and I guarantee there's people in your life that believe in you too. If there's not, maybe you should reevaluate who you surround yourself with and borrow my belief in you for now. Now, when I'm hiking, I know I can make it to the top. When I'm working out, I know I can lift heavier or do more reps, and I'm able to try new things with more confidence because I know I'm fully capable. The best way to gain confidence in yourself and your abilities is doing hard things. How do you know you can't do it unless you try? So for me, since my anxiety was pretty debilitating, this started small, like ordering my own food, calling places I needed appointments at, going places by myself, things like that. As I progressed a little bit, next I started posting videos of me talking on social media, making TikToks, going into places instead of going through a drive-thru or ordering online, and talking to people in person. Then it got bigger, like hosting my own events and public speaking, trying new things, going to workout classes alone, taking myself on dates and going places by myself, sitting in coffee shops and working there instead of home, this podcast. Recently, I did the 75 Hard program. A few years ago, when I heard about the program, I thought there was absolutely no way I could do it. 2 workouts every single day, one has to be outside. I live in Canada. That's ridiculous. If you don't know what the program is, it's designed by Andy Frisella and has 5 components. You have to do these things every single day of the 75 days. They are read 10 pages of a nonfiction book, follow a diet plan of your choice, drink 1 gallon of water, complete 2 45-minute workouts, one has to be outside like I mentioned, and take a progress picture daily. If you miss something, you start back at day 1. You also cannot drink alcohol or have any cheat meals. This sounded so intense and crazy to me a few years ago. But when I decided to do it this year, I had so much confidence going in and I knew I could do it. I didn't even really want to do it for the health benefits, although those were amazing and totally exceeded my expectations. But I just wanted to prove to myself that I could do hard things. The program was tough, but it definitely was not as hard as I thought it would be. I gained so much confidence from doing it, and it helped build belief in myself that I'm capable of other hard things too. Last winter, I tried snowboarding for the first time. I had always wanted to try snowboarding, but I was told I'd never be able to because of my past injuries. I realized that just was not true, and Paul did a couple lessons with me. It was so much fun, and it taught me that just because someone else says you can't do something does not mean they're right. You get to decide for yourself if you can do something. This is true for any aspect of your life. If you want to try something for the first time, like a hobby or sport, or maybe even start your own business, no one else's opinion of you should matter. This is what holds so many people back, the fear of failure. What are you actually afraid of? What other people will think or say if you fail? If people are making fun of you for it, look at what they're doing. Are they pursuing their passions? Are they taking chances and growing themselves? No one who is doing more than you will ever make fun of you for trying. It's the people that are afraid to do it themselves and are sitting on the sidelines. Recently, the Olympics were on, and there were so many people criticizing these athletes. These are Olympic athletes. The people critiquing them were sitting on their couch eating chips. Think about that the next time you're worried about what people will think and ask yourself, what are they doing? Would you want to live their life? If the answer is no, then it should not matter what they think. I also don't believe in failures. If you pushed yourself to try something new to better your life, that is not a failure, even if it didn't work out how you wanted it to. Look at it as a lesson. What did you learn from it? How can this help you, and what will you do differently next time? Another thing that holds people back is comparison. You may want to do something new and see other people doing it and think, of course they can do it. They have a lot of money already, or they're much younger or more attractive than me. Maybe you think success came easy to them. That is all a lie. I've been watching the School of Hard Knocks lately on TikTok, and he interviews millionaires and billionaires. Majority of the people he talks to came from nothing. If you're interested in entrepreneurship, I'd highly recommend looking at those videos because those successful people give a lot of great advice. What I've noticed is a lot of men being interviewed give advice that is very business or money focused, which is fantastic, of course, and I get a lot out of it. The women also give amazing advice on these topics as well, but they also often say to not compare yourself to others or care what they think. I think most women struggle with comparison, especially with social media. What you see on social media, though, and what you see when people are successful is the highlight reel. You don't see the behind the scenes or where they came from. You cannot compare yourself to someone you don't even know. Switch that focus to yourself instead. The reason I push myself is because I know I want more in life and I want to do big things. I understand that that takes courage, and you will not get where you want to be if you play small. If you struggle with getting out of your comfort zone or playing small, I'd encourage you to start with simple things like I did. If you want to go big, go for it. Going to places by myself is the latest thing I'm doing to push myself. Like the other weekend, I went to a yoga class in the morning, then got ready and went to the farmer's market and walked around by myself, and then went to a coffee shop to work. I felt awkward at first in the farmer's market because I didn't really see anyone else by themselves. But I realized literally no one cares, and I just focused on the vendors and what was there. This may sound very easy to some people who don't have social anxiety, but for me it was a big deal, and I know a lot of other people struggle with this too. There are a few other solo date ideas I have for myself, one being going to a restaurant by myself. This one scares me a little bit because it's not very common that I see people eating by themselves at a restaurant. But the amount of stories I've heard of people doing this and absolutely loving it gets me excited. Also, anytime I've ever seen anyone eating alone at a restaurant, I haven't thought twice about it. Even going to the movies by myself is something I'd like to do. Apparently, it's actually so much fun and people end up preferring it. Doing things like this builds confidence in yourself, and then doing other hard things or harder things becomes a lot easier. When I was doing 75 Hard, one of the books I read was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. This book genuinely changed my perspective on life. I'll admit, I used to think David Goggins was way too intense, and I didn't really like his content. But so many people doing 75 Hard have read this book, and Paul had a copy, so I gave it a chance. This book is definitely in the top 3 books I've ever read. This man's story is absolutely incredible and will open your eyes to just how much a human is truly capable of. If you get anything from this podcast episode, please just read that book. It is very intense, it's a little vulgar, and I definitely cried a few times reading it, but it built a lot of belief in myself. This is a small example, but one day during the program, I was reading the book and I had planned on going for a run after. I have always just run intervals and I'm very sporadic with my running. I'm definitely not consistent at all. I believe I had just read a chapter about one of the ultra marathons he did, and the things he went through during that race and kept going was so inspiring. Everything he's endured in his life and his drive to keep going is incredible. Running intervals just didn't seem like enough after reading that, and I wanted to try running for as long as I could. Previously, I would run maybe 1 to 2 minutes. I think I had ran like a kilometer straight before, but that day I ran 3 kilometers without stopping. Again, that's not that much for some people, but it was more than I had pushed myself ever before on a run, and I was proud of myself. I know I could have done more too if I had really pushed myself harder. So it got me thinking, if I can do that with very minimal training, what could I do if I actually poured into it? I think what a lot of people struggle with is having a fixed mindset. I definitely did in some aspects. A fixed mindset means you believe that everything about you, like your intelligence, your talents and abilities, other qualities or circumstances, are just like that forever. You were born this way and you can't change it. A growth mindset, on the other hand, is when you believe that those qualities you have can be grown and developed. You can change through effort and hard work. Having a growth mindset is so important because you will have a much more optimistic view of your life. If you believe you can't change your circumstances because you've always been that way and you're unhappy, that is extremely depressing. But if you know you can improve yourself and your life, it gives you meaning and motivation. For example, I had a fixed mindset about snowboarding. I thought since I had previous injuries, I would never be able to snowboard because that's what I was told. An example of my growth mindset is that although I was shy and awkward, I can get better at talking to people and get better at doing things on my own. Having a growth mindset and pushing yourself past your comfort zone is crucial if you want to live a happy and fulfilled life. Why is it important? First of all, the more you challenge yourself, the more you'll want in life. It will inspire you to become better. It also makes it so much easier to try new things. Once you start challenging yourself, you'll unlock more and more potential and you'll be motivated and inspired to go even bigger. Think of all the possibilities that could come from this. Your dreams and aspirations will get bigger and bigger, and you could accomplish so much more in life. Having a daily routine is great, and I actually plan on doing an episode of my daily routine, but if that's all you're doing every day, it gets so boring. You're just working through the week, waiting for the weekend so you can relax, and it repeats every single week. This may be comfortable for you, it may be all you've ever known, but doing things that scare you and challenge you will add so much more meaning to your life. You'll be excited about doing it, and the work week won't feel so mundane. You will not grow if you are not challenging yourself. I've heard this quote before, and I can't remember where it came from, but it goes, "There is no growth in the comfort zone." If you're content with living your exact life for the rest of your life and you'll have no regrets, then great. But if you desire more, you need to push yourself. Challenging yourself will also help you cope better when difficult situations arise. You will be much better equipped to handle a tough situation if you've proved to yourself that you can do hard things. If you listened to my last episode, I talked about leaving my long-term relationship. Doing that proved to me that I can do really hard things and survive. Thinking about doing something is actually much scarier than just doing it. And when you constantly think about it, you're wasting time, you're getting anxious thinking about what may happen, even though you have no idea what will actually come out of it, and you let your fear take over your thoughts. That being said, I regret nothing in life. Yes, I thought about leaving for years, and it got so bad that I was extremely depressed, but I learned so much from being in that situation. Some people have said, and even I've said before, that I wasted so many years being in that relationship, but what I've learned is that it was not a waste. I learned very valuable lessons from that, and I would not be who I am today had I not gone through that. I am so much stronger now. So yes, it's much better to not overthink things and just do it, but if you've been dwelling on something for a while, it's okay. Look at what you learned from being in that situation instead of beating yourself up for not doing something about it earlier. So I challenge you to try something new that scares you and post on your story what you did and tag me. I would love to see it and hear about your experience. I promise that you will gain so much confidence doing this and your life will improve so much. If you truly want more out of life and have goals and dreams, you have to go for it. If you don't, in the end, you will regret it. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this inspired you to dream a little bigger and push yourself a little more. It would mean so much to me if you would rate and review this podcast and share it with someone you think would benefit from it. If you found this episode helpful or have any questions, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram at growthroughit.pod. Thank you so much for listening, and remember that you are worthy. See you next time.